Let's take a look at graphing absolute value functions. Now, of course, we could use technology to graph absolute values just as we can graph anything else, but sometimes it's good to know how to sketch a graph by hand. So we're going to look at that, and specifically in this case, absolute value functions. First of all, it's handy to know where the vertex is to decide what values to pick, because remember, when we're graphing stuff by hand, oftentimes we'll pick values that are close in here, like 0, 1, 2, -1, -2. Well, in order to get the true shape of an absolute value graph, we need to know the vertex, because remember, the shape of an absolute value is always in this V shape. So if we don't know where the vertex is, we're just going to have one part of it which isn't a true representation of what the graph is. So we need to be careful and make sure that we get that vertex included. So turns out that if we have an absolute value function, the vertex can be found using this right here. G of x is equal to the absolute value of x minus h plus k, where hk is the vertex. So hk is going to be our vertex. Now, why do we care? Well, that's going to give us our first point that we can use to then build on to pick points to make our graph. So let's see how that works. Okay, so first one right here, we have f of x equals x minus the absolute value of x minus 4 plus 1. Okay, if I want to pick out my vertex, I'm going to look here, and the general form is x minus h, so this is going to come out of here as a positive 4. Okay, so my vertex is going to be at positive 4, and then k, which in this case is 1. So 4, 1 is going to be the first point that I'm going to choose. Then I'm going to choose points, 2 points to the left of that and 2 points to the right of it, speaking in terms of x values. So that 4, 1, I could go ahead and graph that right away over 4 and up 1 right here. Okay, then I'm going to pick 2 x's this direction, 2 x's this direction, so I can really see the shape of my graph. So 4, 1, it's going to fit right in here. 4, 1. I'm going to go 2 x's to the left. That will give me 3 and 2. And then I'm going to go 2 to the right, which is going to be 5 and 6. Okay? So then, just as we've always done when we're graphing like this, go ahead and put those values in. So 2 minus 4 is -2. Absolute value of -2 is 2. Plus 1 is going to be 3. So we get 3. Then we put in 3. 3 minus 4, -1. Absolute value of -1 is 1. Plus 1 is 2. Then put in 5. 5 minus 4, 1. Absolute value, 1. 1 plus 1 is 2. And then 6. 6 minus 4 is 2. The absolute value is still 2. Plus 1 is 3. Now, notice, do you see a pattern here? So we know we've got our vertex in the middle, and then the 2's and the 3's show up. So I strongly encourage you to start with the vertex in the middle, go 2 on either side of it, and you'll have a built-in check to know that your points are correct. You should see a pattern going on there. Okay, so then we can graph these other points. So 2, 3 is going to put me right there, and then 3, 2 right there. There's my 4, 1 that I graphed before, 5, 2, and 6, 3. Notice that nice V shape that I've got now, and I can go ahead and connect to get my graph. Okay, so there's my first absolute value graph. Okay, now let's take a look at this next one. I'm going to switch colors. We're going to kind of match colors here. Again, the first thing I want to do is pick out my vertex. Well, again, here's the form that's going to help me out with that. So H is the x-coordinate of the vertex. It's x plus 3 here inside the absolute value. Well, since the form is minus h, in order to get a plus, we're actually subtracting a negative. So the x coordinate, the h in this case, would be negative 3. Okay? Again, I'll just draw that out here, or make that maybe more clear. X minus negative 3, okay, that's the same as this. And that gets me to this form, which notice x minus h. Okay, so that's where the minus 3 comes from. Then I look for the k. Well, there's nothing else out here. So what does that mean? Well, 0. Okay, so my vertex then is at negative 3, 0. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and make my little table here, x and y values. My vertex I'll put in the middle, and then I'm going to go 2 points on either side of it. And to start out, I'm just going to go ahead and graph that point. So that's negative 3, 0 puts me right there. I want to go 2 to the left, 2 to the right. So 2 to the left would be negative 4 and negative 5. Then 2 to the right is going to be negative 2 and negative 1. Then we can go ahead and fill those values in. Okay, so negative 5 plus 3 is negative 2, the absolute value of which is 2. Then negative 4 plus 3 is going to be negative 1, the absolute value is 1. We already did the negative 3. Negative 2 plus 3 is going to be 1, the absolute value is 1. Finally, negative 1 plus 3 is 2, the absolute value of which is 2. Okay, so we can graph those points. Negative 5 is going to take me here up to 2. Negative 4, 1. Negative 2, 1. And negative 1, 3. Okay, so there's my nice V shape, and I can connect again. Now, one thing I want you to notice here, when we're not multiplying by anything, and we have absolute value graphs that look like this, they're going to be nice V's that each side is going to have a slope of 1 or negative 1. It's going to be up 1 over 1. This would be a negative 1. This would be a positive 1. Okay, so we should notice this, and you could technically kind of skip over this part and just go ahead and go up 1 over 1 when we see that. But just to be sure, remember, you can always grab those points and put them in if you're not 100% sure. It's good to have those backup plans. Okay, so then let's take a look at this last one where we've got h of x equals the absolute value of x minus 2. First step again, let's find that vertex. Alright, inside the absolute value, all I've got is an x. So, what's my h? Well, my h would be minus 0. So the h, or the x coordinate of the vertex, is going to be 0. Then the k part, it's minus 2. Remember, the form is plus k, so that's going to be a negative 2 right there. Okay, so there's my vertex, 0, negative 2. Puts me right here. Okay, then, following what we did here, I think my points are going to be something like this. Just go up 1 over 1, both directions. Let's just try that and double check to make sure that those points work. Okay, so my vertex is in the middle, 0, negative 2, 2 on either side, negative 1, negative 2. On this side we've got 1 and 2. Feed those in here, so negative 2, absolute value is 2, 2 minus 2 is 0. Then negative 1, absolute value is 1, minus 2 would be negative 1. 1, absolute value still 1, minus 2 is negative 1, and then finally 2, absolute value still 2, minus 2 is 0. Let's check those points. So negative 2, 0, sure enough, negative 1, yep. 0, negative 2, we put that in before. 1, negative 1, and 2, 0. Sure enough, those points work out. So there we go. Sketch our graph like so. Okay, so anytime if we want to graph absolute value functions the good old-fashioned way, the important piece is to find the vertex. We get the bottom of that V shape. Then we can go ahead and pick some points on either side, pick some x values, fill them in, and we get our ordered pairs. Remember, if it does not have anything that's being multiplied by it, it's not being stretched or compressed, then the slope on either side is going to be -1 and 1 to make up that v. Hope this video was helpful. Keep working hard on your math. You can do it.